ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Tech Showdown. My name is Kevin, this is my co-host Teddy, and today we're checking out this guy right here. It's the Gamdias Hermes P3 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. And let's jump right into it with the design. And the first thing you'll notice is that it has a very slim design to it. It's definitely a thin keyboard. I mean, it's a little bit chunky around the edges, which is interesting. So it's quite sort of wide, but it's pretty slim, so that's good. It's plastic fantastic, the whole thing over, though. I mean, there is the metal faceplate in the middle, which is an interesting choice. I've never seen really that done, like metal in the middle and then plastic around the outside, but that's what they've done here. And color-wise, I mean, you get this sort of black and gray look to it. I don't know, it's color neutral, that's good. I mean, this is an RGB keyboard, so you do want it to be color neutral, but I don't know, it looks a little bit dull for me, even if it was trying to be color neutral. And overall, looks wise, it just seems a bit unoriginal to me. Like, they could have done a bit more to it to make it a bit more lively. But maybe that's what they were going for, a more like understated look or subtle look to it or something like that. And if that's what they were going for, then sure, they achieved it. But let's move over and talk about the keys and the key switches then, because that's much more important. And this is quite interesting. So it's coming with their low profile switches and keycaps, which actually feel pretty good. Like, after you get used to it, it feels pretty good. I'm not sure of the switches themselves. I think they're the TTC low profile switches. They're a blue switch. They're clicky. They feel good. You know, there's nothing wrong with them. They are a short switch. And of course, the keycaps are very short as well. One thing I noticed that I quite liked was the fact that it actually is quite stiff, the way the keycap sits on the switch. It sits nice. Whereas with other ones like this, oftentimes they could feel loose or they just don't feel that good. Where this, it felt fine. That wasn't an issue at all. For typing and gaming and stuff, it was great. I had no issues with it in the slightest. It was very, very good there. No issues with it in terms of the layout or anything. It's all pretty standard. I mean, you've got about a billion function keys all around it if you want to use them, but it's a more or less standard layout. I mean, there's no dedicated macro buttons or anything like that, but not everyone's looking for those. And overall, as a keyboard, it's decent, like to type on. The keys and the switches are decent. I'm not a huge fan of short switches to begin with, but I did get used to it. Obviously, it's different for different people. But for me personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the way the short switches in general. Not, that I'm bashing this keyboard for having that, because obviously it's designed that way. And I've had the same with the Cherry MX short switches as well. I'm just, to me, it always kind of feels like there's something stuck under my switch, the keycap. But for other people, I know there's plenty of people out there that really love them. They like the quick actuation and all that stuff. So for them, this keyboard would be very good in terms of the switches themselves. As far as sound goes, that gives you an idea. Pretty, I'd say a little bit quieter than a Cherry MX Blue. Obviously louder than something like a Brown, but not really that bad. I'd hesitate to say you could use this in an office. Maybe you could, but it still might be a little bit loud. But it's definitely not as loud as a Cherry MX Blue, that is for sure. So let's talk now about the lighting then, and how that looks. So it has RGB lighting, but it's very dull. Like, other keyboards go a lot brighter. That's probably the best way I could put it. There's nothing wrong with the color itself with this keyboard. The way the color looks is good. It's just that even on the highest brightness, which is what it's on right now, this is the highest brightness it goes. Now, granted, this is in the daytime and this room is, decently well lit. But even then, it's not that bright. With any RGB keyboard or any keyboard with LED lighting, you'd much rather it be able to go brighter and then you just turn it down. You know, if it's way too bright for you, which some of them are, especially some of the Corsair ones, you can turn it down because it's just way too much. With this, it's at its max brightness right now, which is probably like 60% on like a Corsair keyboard or something like that. Now, once again, this could have been by design. They could have been going for a keyboard that's not overwhelming, and that would fit with the rest of the theme of this keyboard. But I wish it could go up brighter. The color itself looks good though. Now, as far as the software goes, it comes with the Hermes software, and this needs work. I was going to say it's a train wreck, but it's not quite a train wreck, but it does need work. First of all, it doesn't scale. So if you're using a 4K monitor like me, you're going to need a microscope. So that's something they could improve on. Second is that the lighting setup could be more straightforward with it. It's not the worst. It's definitely not like Q when that first came out. Oh boy, that was just horrendous. So it's better than that, but they still could make it a little bit easier. And third, they need to make it look better. Like, this looks like a third-party program that some guy just made by himself one day. And, you know, it's like, come on, guys. Like, it could look better. Compare it to the other ones out there. They look way, way better than what Hera looks like. So, that's all I have to say about that. But let's move over to the conclusion then. And what do I make of the Gamdias Hermes P3 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard? So you might think I absolutely hate this keyboard, but I don't. I've used it now since I got back from overseas, and so about a week, and I was using it for about a week before I went away, because I was actually going to review it before I went away, but I ran out of time. And I do like it, and it is a good keyboard. It is. Design-wise, it's thin, and that's good. And for people looking for a low-profile sort of switches and stuff, it's also good like that. Once you get used to it, it is a very nice keyboard to use. But it needs some work. For the next round or the next model after this one, they could make quite a few adjustments to it that would make it a heap better. With the design, with the lighting, and with just things like that. The switches themselves, they could probably stay. That would be okay. Obviously, switching Cherry Max would be ideal because they'll be better than the TTC switches, but it's okay how it is. So that's what I would say. If you're looking just for a gaming keyboard in general, then I'd probably give this one a miss, honestly. But if you're someone that's looking for a thin keyboard, a very thin one, and you like really short switches and low profile keycaps, then maybe have a look at this guy, because it might be for you. But for the general gamer out there, I'd say most of you guys probably wouldn't like it that much. So it's going to be just for those people out there that are specific users looking for a specific mechanical keyboard. And that's going to round out this video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Do you like short switches or not? Are you a fan of them or are you not a fan of them? I'd really like to know. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.